San Francisco's the worst. San Francisco is like a failed state.
Crime, despair. This is not how man was supposed to live.
San Francisco might as well be Libya. That place is wild.
We sacked Rome, loaded trade ships with plague rats, burned London to the ground.
Yeah.
People are just in the streets.
The crime is next level in San Francisco.
Every time a civilization reaches the pinnacle of its decadence, we return to restore the balance.
I don't know what they do now at this point. What do they do? They don't have the resources to fix it now.
We are back to finish the job. And this time, no misguided idealists will get in the way.
Because they f***ed up so bad for so long, and they would have to admit that all of their policies sucked.
If someone stands in the way of true justice, you simply walk up behind them and stab them in the heart.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. Hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. I don't think there's really any surprise if I told you that, if I named a city like Philadelphia, New York, San Francisco, Detroit, and you thought about what are some of the first words that come to your mind, and I guess it depends where you're at. If you live there, perhaps it's different, but for those on the outside looking in, it's often the spectacular videos of crime that we see circling all over the internet. Now, I know that cities are far more than their worst moments. I mean, I live just outside of Milwaukee, and I go to Milwaukee all the time. I rarely have issues there. I know there are bad parts of it, just like there are bad parts of every town. I'm sure there are nice parts of San Francisco, but after literally seemingly every major chain, Walgreens, now Starbucks, abandoning San Francisco because of crime and residents fleeing the state due to crime, Joe Rogan has weighed in, calling it a failed city or a failed state due to next level crime. And I suppose if you live there, or if you've seen any of these videos of people just literally driving down the street and breaking into every single car, no big deal. People just leave their trunks and their windows open because they don't want to get their stuff broken into. It's not any way to live. I can't believe that the people that live there choose to do that. That I understand why they do, I suppose, but it's absolutely brutal. And Joe Rogan has weighed in on San Francisco after all of this, including Starbucks abandoning the state. By the way, thanks everyone who's been picking up the coffee brand coffee fall flavors. Promo code fall flavors will save you 10% off. We've got butterscotch toffee, spiked jack-o'-lantern, and pumpkin pie, all in whole bean and ground over at Coffee Brand Coffee. And those of you looking for a new computer, remember the computer I use, the one I recommend is Meta PCs. Promo code The Quartering to save on that. Link will be in the description. They're veteran owned. You can customize your build. They have pre-built laptops, financing. And it's the only computer I've used for the past, 5 years, 4 or 5 years or something like that, it feels like. And I've been absolutely incredibly happy with the brand and the computer itself. So links in the description when you're ready for that. Joe Rogan has branded San Francisco a failed state for soaring crime and its open-air drug markets on a recent episode. During an interview with actor Gabriel Iglesias, the Joe Rogan Experience, the pair said the crime in the city was next level. San Francisco is the worst. It's a failed state. It might as well be Libya. The place is wild, Rogan said. They commented on businesses closing shop in the Golden Gate City. Iglesias said it's become a ghost town and they're not pumping the brakes. No one's stopping anyone from doing anything, Rogan added. It's crazy how quick San Francisco has declined. Everyone's pulling out of there. Now, my heart does go out to the people who literally are stuck there. A lot of commentators will say stuff like, well, just quit your job if you don't agree with this, or just move if you don't like the city. That's great from, financially well-off, commentators. But that's not the actual reality for most people, especially with interest rates the way they are. It's extremely expensive to move. Maybe your kids are in school. Maybe it's complex to just pick up and leave a city. It's complex just to decide to quit your job because you disagree with that. It's very easy to say for people that don't have to worry about that. I can say, well, just move. Well, yeah, I live out in the middle of nowhere. It's easy for me to say that. So I do sympathize with people that live there and are stuck there. Target last week announced it was closing a store in San Francisco after Nordstrom and Whole Foods shuttered locations in the city earlier this year over soaring retail theft. This is essentially, we're watching in real time how you get ghettos. You get the cops out. You get a bunch of woke white middle-aged women who say defund the police. The people that have the means to leave the city, by the way, are the ones that say that, and they're the first ones to go move to Texas or Florida in this recent great exodus. But it's interesting to me how predictable this is. You stop prosecuting people. You become a sanctuary city. You allow people, open air drug markets, and then you're like, what? Crime is out of control. You elect these. Look, I'm not saying that you've got to ruin someone's life because they had an addiction and they broke into some cars, or they were hungry and they stole some bread, okay? But that's not exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing people just walking into retail stores, filling up carts and just walking right out the door. Woke companies for years say, oh, well, we're not going to prosecute because that's racist for some reason. Then you get district attorneys and prosecutors who don't want to keep anybody in jail. The problem is with these light sentences, or in many cases none, it provides no deterrent for people. And law-abiding citizens are the ones that end up dealing with the crime, because what ends up happening is these people escalate, right? We've seen two great examples, very unfortunate examples in the past few days, of people who had a clear criminal past that have been then were out early or out on reduced sentences, and then a law-abiding citizen loses their life. I don't know how many times this has to happen, but I feel like we're at an impasse in this country, almost certainly. Walgreens resorted to padlocking shut their freezers and tying metal chains to ensure doors remain closed overnight. Rogan noted that the city's growing homeless population and substance abuse, so many homeless people down there. It's insane, the amount of tent cities everywhere you look. Then there's open air markets and use, and it's tolerated. San Francisco is grappling with close to 40,000 homeless people and more robberies and motor vehicle thefts reported by police department than the same time last year. Data from the PD shows robberies are up 15.6% year to date. Motor vehicle thefts are up 10%. Even homeless pirates have taken to the Bay Area to rob houseboat communities. San Francisco's OD numbers soared in August with additional 84 passings, 66, of course, involving St. Floyd's choice drug. Rogan criticized the leadership in the city for profiting off the funding that comes to help with the community problems. If the homeless problem goes away, they don't have a job anymore. So they're going to make sure it's manageable, said Rogan. We need more funding. We're very close to cracking down on this problem. We're going to need more funding. Rogan mocked the city's leadership, and this is exactly true. San Francisco Mayor London Breed claims the city is a punching bag for crime headlines, and that's not really the case. On Wednesday, city officials announced a plan to pay for 35 RV parking spots at Candlestick Point for homeless people at $12,000 a month. I mean, and if you look at the headline just this morning, Starbucks, even woke Starbucks, now closes 7 locations in downtown San Francisco due to rampant crime surge. What do you mean? You think Starbucks is just closing these places for funsies? Like just for funsies, they're closing those locations? No, they're getting crushed. They're getting their stuff stolen. Customers are not feeling safe anymore. And look, by the way, why would you go to Starbucks anyway when there's coffeebrandcoffee.com? I mean, it's far better than Starbucks in my opinion, and we actually care about our customers. Promo code fall flavor, save 10%. Anyway, Starbucks will shutter 7 downtown locations in crime-battered San Francisco, the latest high-profile company to close outposts amid an overall deterioration in the quality of life. The closures come amid a shocking survey that found roughly 97% of San Francisco restaurants have experienced graffiti or property crime in just the last month. However, the Seattle-based Java giant avoided blaming the rampant lawlessness for its decision to close downtown. Of course they did. Each year, as a standard course of business, we evaluate the store portfolio to determine where we can best meet our community and customer needs. Well, yeah, no kidding. You're not going to blame the crime, but the crime is why your customers stop going there, morons. Any idiot can see this. This includes new locations, identifying stores in need of investment or renovation, exploring locations where an alternative format is needed, and in some instances, reevaluating our footprint. Well, since the onset of the coup in spring of 2020, some 40 retail stores have ditched the once bustling Union Square section of San Francisco. 40! In addition to dozens of others that have pulled up stakes from surrounding regions of the city. Nordstrom, CB2, Anthropologie, Whole Foods, Old Navy, Saks off Fifth Avenue, Office Depot, Athleta, Abercrombie & Fitch, Disney, Marshalls, H&M, and Gap have all closed stores within San Francisco city limits or announced plans to do so. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. It can't be the crime. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, right? San Francisco, which built its economy around technology sector, has yet to recover from the missing foot traffic and exodus of young people who either left the city or continue working remotely, dealing a devastating blow to retail shops relying on commuters for business. The city's vast vacancy rate stood at 30% last month, while the population shrank by 40,000 residents. You know why? It's because they left. They're getting the heck out of there because it's like, do you want to get robbed? Go to San Francisco. Like, I'm serious. There's very few opportunities that I could even think of that would get me to San Francisco or LA. Like, period. There's just, I'm sure there are nice parts of it. I'm sure. Okay. I've been to New York. Never again. Ever. I was downtown Manhattan. Hated every minute of it. But I'm more of just like a country guy. Like, I just more so didn't like the concrete jungle and the traffic everywhere. It was nice to get good food past 10 o'clock at night. But, Moody's lowered San Francisco credit rating negative to outlook to negative as the city faces $780 million budget shortfall caused by declining tax revenues. Why? Because businesses are leaving. Joe Rogan's 100% right. If you have the ability to leave places like San Francisco, LA, and NYC, they are. But sadly, the people that don't are left behind living under these ridiculous rules. And while their leaders just enrich themselves, people who live there are dealing with, legendary levels of crime and unsafe living. So my heart goes out to them. Hopefully this will change how they vote. Sadly, the people that would have voted against it now have left.